guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't posted it in a while, but I wanted to share with you guys my NCLEX experience, how I studied for it, what I did to prepare for it, and how the actual test went. So first of all, I graduated in December 2018, and so I took about 8 weeks to study for my NCLEX. I could have definitely, I feel like, done it a bit earlier, but I'm one of those people that I need to make sure that I'm 100% prepared to write this, because I'm someone that hates tests. I don't think tests define you and all of that, but you know, to be a registered nurse, it's something that you kind of just have to do. So for me, the best way to prevent that anxiety from coming through is to just prepare as much as possible, and in order to feel that confidence in going into the exam. So I used two resources when I was studying for the NCLEX and to prepare myself for it. So one of those resources that I used was the Saunders book. So I have the Saunders Comprehensive Review. I believe this is one of the newer editions. It's edition 7. So the first thing I did was go through this entire book. I went through this and I made notes. As you can see, I basically would read all these chapters, and then I would make a post-it note and write all the information on it that I felt was the most important from that particular section. So I don't know if this helped me, if I'm being completely honest with you. I think it was a good way to really solidify my knowledge and to make sure I really understand common conditions like Addison's disease or Cushing's disease or something like that. So this was really good in terms of reviewing. However, for me personally, I found Uworld to be the most helpful thing. And I had a lot of friends that only did Uworld and passed. Uworld, for those who don't know, it's basically a huge test bank, and they have a bunch of practice questions. So I purchased, I believe, the second level, which I can't remember exactly how many, but it was around 2,000 and something questions. I did every single question on Uworld, and I did it, I went through the whole thing once. I completed the 2 practice tests that it comes with as well. And I think that is really what helped me, because it's about doing the question, reading the rationale, and then taking notes. If that's what works for you, I would take notes. I personally would take notes of just the key points. I wouldn't write everything down from the rationale, because they are somewhat long rationales, but the rationales are so good. They clearly define why the answer is correct. It tells you why the other options are incorrect, which is, for me, the most helpful. It had a bunch of select all that apply questions, so you could practice that, because for sure NCLEX now has select all that apply questions. So for me, again, Uworld was a lifesaver. In the beginning, what I was doing was I would go through a system in the Saunders book. So for example, I would go through neurological disorders, and then I would read the whole chapter, neurological disorders. I would even do questions at the back of each chapter. I would do those, and then I would do simultaneously the Uworld questions for neuro. And I felt like when I did the chapter in the Saunders book and then did the questions accordingly, I definitely had a higher score on the Uworld, which makes sense because it's I just reviewed the knowledge. So that helped, I think, solidify. But for the most part, I was just doing Uworld questions every single day. I was doing between 75 to 100 a day, reading the rationale, taking notes on the rationale as well. The questions on Uworld are very hard, and I think that you should not be discouraged if you're getting 50s or 60s. That's actually good, I think, because I was ranging anywhere between 40s to 70s when I was doing practice tests and practice questions. So don't feel discouraged by it. You know, the idea with Uworld is that you're learning from it. You're learning the rational, you're reading the rational. You're not going to get everything right, but that's fine as long as you understand why. Another tip that I know a lot of people did, I didn't really do this because I had actually pretty much gone through the whole book, except for like newborn and maybe eye and ear. I just didn't spend time on that. A lot of people, what they do is if they really don't understand a concept, for example, trachs, like trachs for me like make no sense. Like I don't understand it. I've never actually dealt with a trach patient. So what helped me was that, you know, I was getting a lot of those questions wrong. So I just read the concept in the Saunders book. And I think that's something that a lot of people like to do. If they don't really understand a topic, they go back to the Saunders book, they review it, and then it makes sense. And I had also done the practice test that that Uworld has, and both of those tests on Uworld, the practice test, I did get very high chance of passing. In terms of when I did those practice tests on Uworld, I did the first practice test I think about 2.5 weeks before my actual NCLEX date, and again it said very high chance of passing. So I felt better. I definitely, like, that gave me way more confidence. And I took the second practice test that that Uworld offers, and again I got a very high chance of passing. That one I think I took about 7 or 8 days before my actual NCLEX, and again it's a very high chance of passing. So I was feeling really good. Like I was like, okay, both these practice tests think that I have a very high chance of passing. You know, it definitely gave me confidence. In terms of, in terms of the length of time it took me to study, I really gave myself 8 weeks. I think it's good to give yourself anywhere between like 5 to maybe 10 weeks to study. I really wouldn't go too long. Like 3 months I think might be, I mean, it really depends on the person. Like I definitely felt like I wanted to write the test a week earlier. But again, I felt a little bit more confident knowing that I had that extra week to just review things, right? So after I had finished the Uworld questions, like the entire test bank, I actually ended up going back and reviewing questions that I had either marked or got incorrect. And so I just wanted to make sure that I really had the foundation of the main concepts down. I just studied Uworld pharm medications, like just in that pharmacology category. I just studied that. You know, I had started making notes. Again, this book has a lot of medications in here at the end of each chapter, and again questions, but I just did not really, I only did it for cardiac, but just because cardiac I knew there were so many medications. But at the same time, honestly, I felt like the Uworld pharm questions were really good and really helpful, and I definitely think that you should focus on those. Again, the day before the NCLEX, I didn't do any studying, except I had this like cheat sheet of basically all my lab values, because I just wanted to make sure I knew those lab values. I didn't want to, you know, get a question wrong because I couldn't remember what, you know, the range for white blood cells were or whatever. The day before, you know what you know. You don't need to go back and review everything. Do not cram. Please do not cram before your test. It can be very, very overwhelming if you cram the day before and you just want to rest your brain, relax your brain, let it all soak in, and just have a nice peaceful day the day before. Do something fun, do something relaxing, because you know, get a good night's rest. I did not sleep the night before. I just could not sleep properly. I really kept telling myself, you're not nervous, you're not nervous, you're gonna be fine. If you're nervous, it's going to, you know, throw you off even more. So I just tried to not be nervous. I tried to go in with confidence, and I think that's the key, is just remember that everyone there is nervous. Every single person in that testing environment is so nervous. They're all going through the same thing as you, and that is really important to understand. In terms of the testing environment, it was great. I actually really liked the environment that I was in. It was nice, it was quiet. They give you like noise canceling earphones and earplugs. So yes, for my actual test day, so my actual NCLEX, I got approximately 75 questions. And honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I walked out of there thinking that I failed. I really felt so like defeated. And it was funny because I went into the exam thinking, oh my God, like I hope I get 75 questions. Do not go into the exam thinking I get 75 questions, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, if you get 75 questions and your test suddenly keeps going, a lot of people I think freak out at that 75 mark. Don't freak out at the 75 mark. If you keep going, you keep going. It's fine, right? And I had to tell myself, Nicole,
well, you might get more than 75 questions and you need to pull yourself together.
Even though I was done, I didn't feel good. Like I just didn't feel good. I was like, either I did really, really bad or I did good, but I couldn't tell. And there is that rumor that if you get 75 questions, it means you pass. And I just felt like I didn't pass at all. And then the next morning I checked my phone and I had an email saying that I passed. And I literally didn't even believe it because I just felt so unconfident about my answers. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, during my test. But I told myself, if you get to 75 questions and the test keeps going, take a deep breath. If you need to, put your hand up, go for a break. Sure, the time keeps going if you go for a break, but at least, you get out of there, you get a little bit of like a breath and you can like refresh yourself. And so that's my recommendation. If, everyone's just like, you should be getting 75 questions, you should be getting more select all that apply. That's another thing that freaked me out because I was like, am I getting enough select all that apply? I don't know. Is this test getting harder? Is it getting easier? I cannot tell. I really recommend just don't listen to that. Do not read nursing forums the day before like I did. Do not listen to what other people have to say. Just go in there with what you know. And remember that you know more than you think. If you've done the Uworld questions, if you've read the Saunders book, if you have studied and genuinely put in a good amount of effort, I believe that you will pass. I really and truly believe that. In the actual exam, calm yourself down, take a few deep breaths, and after each question, honestly, I would like try to take a breath and just read the question very carefully, because a lot of the times you get questions that say which one of the following are wrong, but then you read it wrong and it actually was asking which of the following are correct. So take your time. Like, you have 6 hours. Remember, 6 hours is a lot of time. And so take your time, read the question, and answer to the best of your ability. If you really don't know a question, honestly, I just say, like, for me, there was quite a few questions I was just like, I don't know this one. And I just, went with my gut. That's another tip. Always go with your gut. If your brain says something, but then your gut says something, listen to your gut, because for whatever reason, your gut is smarter. I definitely feel like if there's something telling you, I think this one is right, you click it and you move on to the next one. Try not to overthink. Don't spend too much time on a question. I would say, I think I was spending maybe like a minute, couple seconds on a question at a time. I think maybe some questions I may have spent like 1.5 to 2 minutes if it was really difficult and I just didn't know. But yeah, just take your time and do your best. Remember that once you finish your test, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna feel so relieved, unless you're like me and was just like, I think I failed. But most people, I think, feel really relieved. And then of course, when I got my result, I felt so much better, knowing that I had passed. If you don't pass, I would honestly say, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. You can still pass. You can still do it. And I remember just telling my friend, after I had finished the exam, I failed. And, he was like, okay, you failed. If you do fail, it's not the end of the world. You can always write it again. And so I was like, you're right. I should not freak out. But yeah, my honest advice is to just study, put in a good amount of effort in, Don't listen to other people. You know, you're gonna hear people that are like, oh, I got this many, select all that apply. You're gonna hear people that say, oh, it was really, really hard. Or you're gonna have people that say, oh, it's so easy. And I just remember taking all that information in, and it really psyched me out to some degree. But I think the best advice is just don't listen to that. Do you, and you'll be fine, and you'll be great. So yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for listening to my long video. I'm sorry if this is a little bit long. I just wanted to put in all the information there. But again, if you have any questions at all, please comment it down below and I will be happy to answer them. Thanks so much. Bye, guys.